Hey, what is up everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be covering my entire Nintendo Wii U game collection. Now, all the games you see here are the ones that have a come in a come with their own case and cover art for the most part. I also have some loose copies which I'll be showing later, as well as my entire digital collection. Now, I got the Wii U itself like at the very just at pretty much when it was dead. Like it was fall 2018. They were clearing out their Wii U supply at GameStop, or EB Games as it was previously called. And I got mine for like $80, and I got like two games with it. One of them was The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, which I regrettably traded before I even played and finished. And I can't remember. Oh yeah, I think the other one. I think the other one was Splatoon. I can't remember, but yeah, I got my Wii U for $80. I was actually returning a bunch of games at the time, including Mega Man 11, to get it. Or no, I was coincidentally trading in multiple other games like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Mega Man 11, and something else because I wasn't gonna play it. And it just so happened the Wii U was on sale. And fast forward about almost 6 years now, exactly, and this is my collection. You'll notice there's a lot of duplicates here, and I'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, let's start off with a Just Dance game, because why not? So Just Dance 4. Um, yeah, this is one. Yeah, I think this was the first entry for the Nintendo Wii U, and so interestingly enough, you would think that the last entry, um, its final entry, would well surpass the last version on Wii, but no. The last entry on Wii U was Just Dance 2018, and then the following year they released Just Dance 2019 on the Wii, which is funny. As for the fourth game as for the fourth entry in the series, well, it's let's see here. As was the case back then, you had some bonus tracks, which unfortunately you can no longer get because the eShop is no longer available. Of course, you had, I think, yeah, you of course had like some gamepad features, I believe. Yeah, it says so right here. You had some change the choreography in real time by choosing friends' next dance move on the gamepad. The standard stuff. I think they kind of gave up on that as the generation went by, though, because of course the Wii U wasn't selling that well. And honestly, I'm surprised they even bothered putting out a Wii U version. But I guess some people were buying it. Just enough people were buying it to justify a release. I don't really have much else to say. I mean, it's typical Just Dance fashion. In typical Just Dance fashion, you got 40 new tracks. You use the Wii remote, and of course, because this was like, um, this was this was like earlier in the generation, you did not have the ability to use your phones as a controller. That feature came much later. But yeah, this was, I think, yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. Moving on, we have Zombie U, another Ubisoft title. This was a Wii U launch title, and yeah, unfortunately, this game underperformed, and we never got a sequel to it. In fact, it actually got ported over to PS4 and Xbox One a couple years later, but without the multiplayer, since that multiplayer feature relied heavily on the gamepad. Though I'm sure they could have very easily just implemented the multiplayer anyways, but I guess they just couldn't be bothered to do it, or just didn't have the budget. But yeah, this was one game that was that really took advantage of the gamepad as far as I was as far as I was aware. At least that's what I've heard, anyways. I haven't actually touched this game myself. In fact, I haven't really touched a lot of these games that you see here for, well, for the pretty much because I had a Switch and the Xbox One, so I didn't. And like I said, got out at the end of the generation, so didn't really play it, especially since a lot of the games are available on other platforms. But anyways, yeah. So that's Zombie U. Of course, this was a time when we still had instruction manuals. So yeah, and it isn't just like a typical warning. No, it's actually a pretty beefy one here. You got the gamepad, the Wii U Pro controller, which I've been meaning to buy for the longest time. Heard that's a pretty good controller, minus the the right analog stick being above the face buttons. Oh, and look, we got an advertisement for Assassin's Creed 3, which interestingly enough, on Wii U, did not have the season pass, as far as I can tell. So if you bought the Wii U version of Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, you're basically getting a worse version by default because you had no access to the DLC. Next up, we have Hyrule Warriors. Now, this was an interesting title because, of course, when people saw this, they had to immediately tell everyone this was not the Zelda game that was being developed behind the scenes, which ended up being Breath of the Wild. Oh, oopsies. Yeah, so I remember this. I forgot what it was called. It had another name in development that I can't remember. But yeah, this was certainly an interesting. This was certainly an interesting spin-off of the Zelda franchise. Which and funny enough, and interestingly enough, sorry, it got a port to the. It got a 3DS port, which added content, and then of course a Switch release that combined the content of both the Wii U and 3DS version. Thank goodness, because uh, that 3DS version, yeah, it had its issues, specifically the frame rate and the fact that you were playing on a handheld. Next up, we have Minecraft Wii U Edition. This was such an odd release. This came out, I believe, um, yeah, this came out in 2016 at the tail, right just as the Nintendo Switch was being announced. Uh, it, yeah, this was a case of um, why wasn't this released at the beginning of the generation? Because I mean, honestly, don't get me wrong, it's great that we had Wii U owners got to experience Minecraft finally, but it took so darn long. Like what happened? Um, and I mean, if I can say anything positive, it came with the Super Mario Mashup Pack, which was neat. But um, really, this game could have very well helped the Wii U if it were released much sooner and had more gamepad features. I think the Wii U edition did not have that much as many gamepad features as some people would have liked. And it's even crazier to know that they released a 3DS version a year after this. Like, and that version came out, I believe, after the Switch version. So, yeah, the timing is certainly an issue with this. But hey, we got Minecraft. Minecraft is now a mainstay on Nintendo platforms, so that's good. Uh, Speaking of mainstay, oh, this one hurts. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games Sochi 2014. Gosh, that's such a title. Yeah, so this was a Wii U exclusive, so I never actually bothered with this at the time. I was actually disappointed there was no 3DS version. And unfortunately, it was recently announced the Mario and Sonic franchise has basically over because apparently um, the powers may the power the people behind there are some issues behind the scenes that there are things behind the scene that are preventing them from ever making another entry. So yeah, unfortunately, we're never gonna see a 2026 Winter Games ever. I mean, we just missed out on. We didn't get one for Paris either, so yeah, that sucks. Um, with that said, however, I'm aware that starting with Sochi, the first three, starting with this game, this is when the critical reception really went downhill, because I guess the games just didn't feel as fun as before, unfortunately. Um, there's a wide variety of reasons for this, but basically they were kind of taking out the things that made this franchise unique, like the dream events, or just making worser versions of those events. And it's really disappointing too, because I would have because I really think this series of sports games um, had a lot of potential that was still yet to be tapped into. But yeah, that's basically it. I really enjoyed the first three entries. especially on the DS and 3DS. But oof, boy, moving forward, it kind of went downhill a bit. Um, well, okay, I haven't actually played the later this or the Rio or the Tokyo games, but I know for a fact, but I'm aware that they're considered not as good as the first three. And next up, we have Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. This was the pretty much the only reason you'd ever get a Wii U for a while because, of course, this game was exclusive. Okay, no, you also had the 3DS version as well. But if you want the TV experience, this was the game to get. And a lot of people were wondering immediately when the Switch was released. Oh, when are we going to get us another Smash Brothers game? And the moment that the next Smash Brothers game came out, this version kind of got thrown to the wayside. It's a darn shame too because the one thing that this game had that Ultimate does not have is the trophies, which I dearly miss. And it also sucks too that they shut down the eShop because now you can't get any of the DLC fighters for this. So yeah, unless you have the DLC fighters installed on your system, the only other way to get them is just to mod your system. And of course, something that Nintendo really doesn't like you doing, and will go after you. But yeah, what can I say? Smash Brothers. I actually bought this game at launch. No, not at launch. Like I actually did an unboxing for this. I was foolish enough to actually pay full price for this just so I can get Mewtwo for the 3DS version, even though I had no Wii U. So I ended up trading that copy for at a significant loss, which I deeply regret. I mean, okay, I kind of regret even buying it to begin with, but yeah, yeah, that was a huge waste of money. Next up, we have Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I've tried repeatedly to get into this franchise, but it just hasn't quite clicked with me. I'm really hoping that it does at some point, because hey, clearly there's a huge audience for this game, and I literally bought a good chunk of the more recent entries, including this, the 3DS version of this game, 4, Generations Ultimate, and even the most recent one, Monster Hunter Rise. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it. And it doesn't help that they've now gone rid of the segmented level design, so that might be a bit hard for me to get into. But who knows? Maybe I'll get into it eventually. But we'll see. One of the cool things I will say about this game is that it was one of the first games that had had cross-platform play of some sort with the 3DS version. They kind of did it in a weird way from what I heard, but it was an option. And it is also worth mentioning that Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate in of itself is basically, I think the Wii U version is basically just a port of the 3DS version, which in of itself is based on the Nintendo Wii version, which some people actually prefer. But I don't really know enough about that to say anything. But yeah, that's it for Monster Hunter. Next up, we have Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. And yeah, if you're wondering why it's black and white, it's because I printed off the copy. It's printed off the box art itself. It did not come with a box art. It was just a disc. Yeah, this was an interesting game that I tried out. It definitely should have been a 3DS game, or better yet, it's a game that works best. That would work so much better on Switch because unfortunately you are going to be staring at the game because of how the game is designed. Because of how you are basically have to draw with the stylus on the touchscreen all the time. You're staring at the gamepad most of the time instead of the TV. So I'm kind of hoping that they do release this on the Switch at some point, but especially since Kirby games generally are the last things that usually come out for Nintendo systems. So yeah, hopefully this does get re-released because it's one of the only Wii U exclusives left on the system. And speaking of Wii U exclusive, we got Nintendo Land, which I got for $5. Yeah, so this was basically the Wii U's version of Wii Sports, sort of, where it was basically meant to sell you on the idea of the system. But the problem with Nintendo Land is that it's not as intuitive. Sorry, it's harder to get into than for casual people than say Wii Sports. I mean, Wii Sports, it's literally just you playing virtual versions of actual sports. This has you going through a series of mini games that, while taking advantage of the Wii U gamepad, can be a bit unintuitive for your older family members who may not be familiar with video games, which is ironic, given what this game was mentally, what was given that what that was the whole point of this game was that it was supposed to um, be the one game that helped bring people together. Next up, we got Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I actually got this recently for just $10. Yeah, $10, and they released and the Switch version is being sold at full price with Funky Mode, and that's basically it. Um, so I'll be honest, I didn't really grow up with the Donkey Kong Country games except maybe Country Returns on the Wii and 3DS, which it's getting remastered it's getting a port later. I think either this year or next year. I can't remember, but yeah, this is considered like one of the best Wii U games you can get until, of course, it got re-released. I remember this game ended up getting delayed by several months because they just Satoru Iwata himself said they just needed a bit more time to polish it, and it must have worked out, and it worked out because the game ended up doing well, relatively speaking, critically and I guess commercially, for the most part. So yeah, this is also like Retro Studios. I think Retro Studios. I think they're the ones who made this. It doesn't seem to say, but yeah, Retro Studios. They're the same guys who did Metroid Prime, and its sequels, and right now they're doing Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, as for a new Donkey Kong Country games, I don't know if we're gonna get one for a long time, but who knows. Next up, we have Mario Kart 8, because of course we have to have Mario Kart 8. It's like literally the best-selling Nintendo Switch game right now, as far as I'm aware, or one of the best. Like, it sold so many copies, and so much so that Nintendo even released a new booster course pack, which came with like all sorts of new courses, just because many years after release, just because the game did so well. It sold really well on the Wii U. It did well on the Switch. God knows when we'll ever get Mario Kart 9. I mean, who knows? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just did if they just released another version of Mario Kart 8 again, but with even more courses. I mean, honestly, they could just do that. Really, they could. Maybe add some double dash gimmicks or something. I don't know. I really don't know where they can go. I mean, I guess they can copy They could probably copy Sonic and All Stars Racing Transforms, but they kind of already have the glider and the underwater sections. So really, I don't know what else to say in regards to what they can do. But yeah, I really don't have. There's no explanation needed. It's Mario Kart 8. It's an excellent kart racer. Sonic Lost World Deadly 6 Bonus Edition. Funny enough, despite being a used copy, the code for the bonus content still worked, and that's how I ended up getting the Nights into Dreams bonus content that was included in the Deadly 6 bonus edition. It's also worth mentioning that the Wii U version also has two Nintendo-inspired levels, one based on Zelda and one based on Yoshi, and you cannot get this in the PC version of the game. So there's that. So I guess that's one merit of the Wii U version, but honestly, I would also argue the one benefit of the Wii U version that against the PC version is the fact that it runs at a smooth 60 frames. But of course, with a PC, you can basically run it at any frame rate you want. Well, actually, no. The problem with I ran into like the PC version, I realized, is that the frame rate is tied to game speed. So if you don't have a powerful enough PC, what ends up happening is that if the frame rate goes below 60, the game itself will actually slow down, which is rather unfortunate. So in other words, the game speed is been hard coded to the frame rate is hard coded to the game speed, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, Sonic Lost World. This was a pretty divisive game. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I kind of like what it was trying to do. It's just like some people have criticized. Um, it throws in a lot of gimmicks, sometimes unnecessarily. The story was also very disappointing. It was kind of part of the meta era of Sonic, which um, some people are not too fond of because of because they went from shonen having a sort of shonen anime type story to a Saturday morning cartoon feel to it, and a lot of people just actually miss that shonen adventure type stuff. I got lots more to say about Sonic Lost World, but we would be here all day if I talked if I got into too much detail. Uh, but I will say though I did there were, my first experience with this was the 3DS version, and the one thing the 3DS version had that the Wii U version didn't is that it had is online multiplayer versus as compared to just local split screen. Or no, you had multiplayer in the form of one person on the gamepad and one person on the TV, but the way it was designed was a bit awkward. I didn't really play it, but basically there's a checkpoint. Every time you hit a checkpoint, everybody just starts at the exact same point, which as opposed to something like Sonic Adventure 2 where there are no checkpoints, so you're not. And this is obviously a technical limitation. So um, if you ever notice why everyone keeps getting both players keep getting teleported when playing the multiplayer, it's because of the technical limitations, I guess, or they just didn't have the time to or budget to do it. But yeah, that's Sonic Lost World. Um, one last thing about the 3DS version. Um, it's a completely different game because, of course, it was back then. It was very normal for handheld versions to be very different from the um, home console version, and the 3DS version had its merits, but it also has its own issues as well. Level design kind of is all over the place. Um, well, actually, you know what? Both versions kind of have level design that are all over the place, but it's just with the 3DS version, they kind of took a more puzzle-like approach to the levels, which um, kind of made the levels a bit frustrating because, of course, if you're going really fast, the last thing you want to do is be stopping and doing a bunch of puzzles. But yeah, that's Sonic Lost World. Next up, Redea the Sky Soldier. This was an interesting game because this was originally meant to be a Wii game, but it kind of got stuck in development hell. Or actually, no, yeah. So what happened was they wanted, because the game was coming out so late in the. What happened was the publisher wanted a 3DS version as well, so they made a 3DS version which was heavily compromised because of the limitations of the 3DS. But by the time they were ready to release the game, the Nintendo Wii was already on its way out, so they decided to take more time to port not the Wii version, but the 3DS version that they had already developed to the Wii U. And of course, the 3DS version that they used as a basis for the Wii U version was was very different from the Wii version. And Yuji Naka, the director of the game, even said himself to go play the Wii version. Now, as for the Wii version itself, they actually include it with every single copy of the Wii U version. So yeah, you get the Wii version here, and the Wii U, behind it. It even has a reversible cover art as well, which is pretty neat. Oh yeah, you also have the box art. Yeah. So you have the reversible cover art for the Wii version, and you even have the manual for the Wii version as well, which is really nice. I will say though, it's a bit unfortunate what happened to Yuji Naka though. It really is a shame. I mean, this guy went from creating one of the most successful franchise to convicted criminal. But yeah. And speaking of disappointments, Mighty Number 9. Yeah, I got the Wii U version here for $1. $1 because they were getting rid of all the Wii U games at GameStop, so I ended up picking this up for just $1. Even came with and the code inside for the Ray expansion and Retro Hero DLC actually worked, which was really nice. Um, yeah, so you got all the stuff in here, which is really, which is always nice to see. Unfortunately, unfortunately for the game itself, it was not very well received for a variety of reasons. There was also a lot of mismanagement surrounding the game's development. It was a Kickstarter game done by the former creator slash designer of Mega Man, KJ Inafune, who's kind of gone radio silent for the most part since this game's release. Um, and and understandably so. A lot of people were very unhappy because there's a lot of mismanagement behind the scenes. This game was announced for so many different platforms, including the 3DS and Vita, for which versions of those consoles never got released. So if you kickstarted the game and supported uh, and donated money towards the 3DS version, you never got the game. You kind of got screwed over, basically. I will say though, um, if you are going to play this game, the Wii U version is like one of the worst versions you can get because it doesn't run that great. Clearly, the Unreal Engine was not. It's pretty evident that the developers had issues because, of course, Unreal Engine is a Western developed, Western made engine, whereas the developers themselves were Japanese. So, yeah, or I think they were. So, well, it was handled by a Japanese guy. So, at the very least, so yeah, they had some issues with that. Really, I could talk on and on about Mighty Number Nine, but I will say this: if you got the game on PlayStation 4, you also got and the Xbox version. You also got the code for the Ray expansion and Hero DLC, but specifically for the PS4 version, the code entitles you to a digital version of the PS4 version, so you don't even need the disc. And it also entitled you to the PS3 version as well, which is how I experienced the game for the first time. And oof, yeah, I didn't even finish it, and I don't know if I even want to finish it because the credits are like 4 hours long. And of course, you were also supposed to be entitled to the Vita version as well, but of course that never got released, so that's technically false advertising, among many other things. All right, guys. So sorry for the jump cut here, but I am recording this later in the day now. So continuing off where I left off this morning. Okay, so we just finished Mighty Number Nine. So next up we have the first Splatoon game. Now, contrary to what I just said earlier, um, while this was one of the very first games I got, I did not get this the same time as Wind Waker, as I previously stated. Just wanted to correct myself there. But yeah, Splatoon. Um, this game, I remember having a very interesting reveal trailer back in 2014 or 15. I can't remember now. Yeah, it was 2014. And of course, the very interesting commercials as well. You know, you're a kid now, you're a squid now. That tagline. As for the game itself, it ended up being a huge success for the Wii U, which isn't, which unfortunately is not saying much because, of course, the system sold very poorly. But that said, it did kickstart a new IP by Nintendo that has since gotten two more entries. As for the first entry, well, unfortunately, outside of the single player mode, you can no longer play online with this. So if there were any maps that you liked or anything else as part of the online multiplayer experience that you liked in this version that you felt was missing or was missing in the sequels, well, unfortunately, you can no longer access it as the online mode has been shut down fairly recently. But hey, you do have a 1v1 local, which is something, I guess. But yeah, aside from that, I guess you're better off. I suppose you're better off just picking the sequels. Next up, yeah, let's do. You know what? Let's do Lego. Sorry, let's do the Toys of Life stuff last. Next up, I have a copy of Star Fox. Actually, no, let's bundle it together. So I have a copy of both Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. The latter of which I picked up earlier this year for about $5, I believe, off of a Facebook Marketplace seller. But yes, Star Fox Zero originally came out back in 2016, developed by Platinum Games, the same folks who did Bayonetta. Ended up being a disappointment, unfortunately, because of various reasons, specifically the controls, which you could not change, unfortunately. That and also the way that they handled the Wii U gamepad features as well was controversial because you had a cockpit view on the gamepad and a third person view on the TV screen, which you could switch. The game just didn't tell you that. And unfortunately, for some people, they just couldn't get used to it. Among many, and generally speaking, it felt like a worser version of the very game that it was a reimagining of, which was Star Fox 64. Now, um, with that said, it also came with another game called Star Fox Guard, which was originally a tech demo for the Wii U of sorts, that got reworked into a Star Fox game. It's really nothing special here. In fact, I'm actually surprised they didn't just make this an entirely different game mode inside Star Fox Zero. I mean, they even bundled these two games together, so why not just put it in one on the same disc? You know? But yeah, it's really nothing special. I tried it a little bit. It's all right. It's a nice little distraction, but aside from that, really, they could have very easily just shoved this inside Star Fox Zero. They did not have to give this a physical release at all, either, which is interesting. But yeah, that's Star Fox, and unfortunately, it looks like the franchise, as far as I can tell, is probably going to be on ice for the foreseeable future. I mean, it's been almost it's been over 8 years now since this came out, and we've yet to see a Switch release of it, nor have we seen a new entry in the franchise aside from the crossover with Starlink Battle for Atlas. But yeah, this is these are one of the only exclusive games left on the system aside from um, yeah 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 I should have mentioned I should have mentioned as well. Splatoon is still a Wii U exclusive, technically speaking. Um, so yeah, there's that. Next up, okay, so next up we have a bunch of games here that let's start off with Super Mario 3D World. What can I say about this game? It's basically uh, just a better. It's just Super Mario 3D Land, but just on a much larger scale with 4-player co-op. Um, of course, this got a re-release on Switch back in 2021, which was 3 years ago now, and it also came with a brand new mode, which interestingly enough could have been sold as its own game. Now that I think about it, they could have Bowser's Fury could have very easily been just Star Fox Guard, been treated like Star Fox Guard and given its own release, but they decided to just release it with 3D World, which in of itself is a pretty packed game as uh, in of itself. But they really just wanted to justify the full price of 3D World on Switch, and that was really it. But they didn't have to. They could have just released it separately, and they still can release it separately. They just choose not to. But yeah, as for the game itself, it's pretty fun. From what I played, I actually haven't finished this game either Wii U or Switch, and I'm probably gonna finish it on Switch. Honestly, I really there's no really little reason to even play the Wii U version anymore at all. The Switch version just completely replaces it. Um, in just about every way. Although I will say you do, I believe, miss out on a few Captain Toad. No, sorry. Yeah, maybe some of the Captain Toad stuff, I guess, you're missing out on, though I'm not too sure on that. Maybe you got that in the Switch release. I think I gotta look it up. I know Captain Toad Treasure Tracker had some on Wii U had some a few extra, had at least one stage that was exclusive to the Wii U version that did not make it over to the Switch version. But yeah, that's Super Mario 3D World. Next up, we have the toys. Oh, actually, no. Yeah. All of these you see here are Toys to Life games. Let's start off with the Nintendo. This was this is Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival for the Wii U, released in 2015. This was nothing more than a shameless cash grab by, as a lot of people believed, or yeah, it's just as much of a shameless cash grab as everyone says it is. It really, first of all, it's not a traditional Animal Crossing game. What were they thinking? They could have very easily ported New Leaf over to the Wii U and called it New Leaf Deluxe, and it would have sold like crazy. But they didn't. It's just they just took the texture work of New Leaf map and just added a board game mechanic and really little else. And they also forced like amiibo functionality into the game, so you can't even play the game without amiibos, specifically the Animal Crossing variants. And they also introduced the cards as well, which, of course, again, cash grab because there's so many of these things. I will say though, the only good thing that came out of this, I guess, is the fact that because it sold so poorly, they ended up places like GameStop or EB Games. They basically tried to clear them out for as little as for they slashed the price of this game really hard. I got this for $5. I got two amiibos plus three cards and a awful board game video game for $5. That's the only solace I can take in this. Aside from that, really, this game is not worth playing as far as I can tell. All right, so moving on to the other Toys to Life stuff. All three of them, actually no, four technically. Actually, yeah, we just covered amiibos already, so now we just have the three Toys to Life things. So first off, we have Disney Infinity 2.0 edition. So this is the second entry in the Disney Infinity franchise, which began with Disney Infinity, I believe, in 20. Okay, so this one came out in 20. Huh. This is 20. Shoot, I can't even remember what. Yeah, I think this was 2014, I believe. 2014. The first one came out, I think, in 2013. It even got a release on Wii, which was heavily. Yeah, oh yeah, it's 2014. So, yeah, the first game got a release back in 2013 on the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS. The 3DS was a completely different game. The Wii version was heavily watered down. Just as an example, the opening scene is just a cinematic. Like the opening scene is just a cinematic in the Wii version, whereas in the Wii U version and every other console version, for that matter, you can actually roam around. So yeah, as for Disney Infinity 2.0, this was very Marvel inspired. So you had, of course, all the Marvel characters in it. The third game, of course, was Star Wars inspired, and I was actually surprised it did not do well, considering The Force Awakens was coming out at the same time. But yeah, unfortunately, Avalanche Studios, the folks who made this, they got shut down in 2016 as a result of like rising costs for the franchise. But then they immediately got reopened like a year later, and the first game they made was Cars 3: Driven to Win, which interestingly enough used a lot of the recycled a lot of the assets from Disney Infinity racetracks. And speaking of which, now that I mention it, Disney Infinity itself was heavily inspired by, took a lot of inspiration from Toy Story 3, the video game, which Avalanche also developed. I haven't actually played Toy Story 3, but I heard heard it's actually a pretty decent tie-in game. But yeah, enough of Disney Infinity. Um, oh yeah, one last note. I actually, yeah, I have the base for the game, and I think I have at least a couple characters I can use. I actually need to buy some more characters. If you don't want to use, if you don't want the hassle of buying the characters, the physical characters or other items, you can actually get the PC version, which does not require any of the base or characters or whatever. It's everything is just included right from the get go, the moment you install it, which is neat. So the best, I guess that's the best way to enjoy Disney Infinity nowadays, unless you want to collect the toys. But yeah, that's Disney Infinity. Next up, we have Lego Dimensions. Ugh. Now, a part of me does kind of regret getting the Wii U version because, of course, um, the Wii U version, the online, whatever, the online, the eShop and whatever online features have been shut down. So I don't know to what extent that has affected the game, but at least for me, um, I haven't actually bought the Portal. I just got the game itself, and I have some of the Lego sets. I just don't have the Portal piece that or power pad or whatever you call it, so that I can scan the characters into the game. I got this for I got this for $5 as well. The one nice thing about the Wii U version, of course, is I like how the blue in the box art itself matches with the blue of the Wii U logo and case, which is nice. But yeah, a part of me does regret it because a online features are down, so I don't know to what extent I'll be able to get any of the other uh, in-game content. I don't know how it's affected the in-game content, and also the other versions generally run better. I think the Wii U version, from what I heard, doesn't run as well. I know resolution wise it's definitely lower, but I don't know how good the frame rate is. But yeah, that's Lego Dimensions. It's rather unfortunate what happened to this. It had a lot of potential, but it seems that it may have been a little too early, or actually no, yeah, it may. Okay, well, when I think of, I mean, we have Lego Fortnite now, which is neat, but um, hypothetically, in another universe, this could have been successful if it weren't for the fact that the extra toys costed so much money. You know, like it costed like 35 bucks Canadian each just for a new pack, and for some people that may have just been a bit too expensive, especially since you're basically paying like the price of a budget game just to be able to scan in some new just be able to unlock something that's already technically already on the disc, or you just have to download through an update. But yeah, we have Lego Fortnite now, which is neat and hopeful. I'm actually kind of hoping that they add some stuff from Lego Dimensions. I'm hopeful that's going to happen. Do I think it's going to happen? Well, probably not, because Lego Dimensions uses a different engine than Lego Fortnite, which uses the Unreal Engine. Um, so yeah, it sucks, but it it is what it is. Doesn't mean I still can't have a bit of hope. Um, but yeah, that's Lego Dimensions. Next up, we have these Skylanders games, and yeah, well, okay, this is interesting because I got multiple copies of some of these games here, as you can probably tell. So the first one I got was Skylanders Superchargers on Wii U for just like $5. Yeah, so this is the fifth entry in the franchise in a row. I should say they released a brand new entry between 2011 and 2016. No, 2017 technically, and non-stop. Um, and this was the fifth entry, the second to last entry ever released. Pretty much all the games actually made it onto the Wii U in some way, although the first game is only available on the Wii U in Japan, which is funny. Um, but yeah, Superchargers itself is interesting because the Nintendo versions of the game, that is the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS versions, also came with an amiibo, or I should say, a Nintendo, a Skylander slash amiibo based on the Nintendo properties, specifically Donkey Kong for the Wii U version, and Bowser for the 3DS and Wii versions. So, if you want to get all of the characters, all the variants, or sorry, both characters and its variants, you're gonna have to be shelling out a lot of money, which is exactly what I did, which I'll get to in a moment. But actually, you know what? I might as well cover it now. So yeah, I got 3 copies here of Superchargers here, as you can see. Why the heck do I have 3 copies? Well, it's because what happened was I got, I believe the second copy I got because I was also buying one of the, I think it was, yeah, I did a video on this. I did like I got Hammer Slam Bowser along with it. And then the other one came with Donkey Kong. I can't, honestly, I can't even remember now, even because I waited too long to make this video. So my memory is kind of fading. But point is, I was buying up the other figures and it just so happened to come with a copy of the game. So that's why I have 3 of them. And although, and yeah, speaking of, and of course, so Superchargers notwithstanding, so yeah, Superchargers aside, I have 2 copies of Trap Team. Why do I have 2 copies? Well, this time I got this for $3.99 or $3.59 because of the platinum price. I don't even remember, but I got this. I picked these up when they were cheap at GameStop, and Trap Team was one of them. This one I actually got recently as part of a gaming lot on Facebook Marketplace, and it just so happened to come with it. Actually, yeah. Now I think about it, I think the 3rd copy came from that lot, although I can't remember now. But yeah, I got 2 copies of Trap Team here, 3 copies of Superchargers, and 1 copy of Swap Force. Although I also have it on the Wii as well, so I technically have 2 copies. Although the Wii version is inferior to the Wii U version, so keep that in mind if you ever decide to buy it. Definitely get the HD versions over the Wii versions if you can. There is some charm in the Wii versions and playing the Wii version, but honestly, you're better off just getting the superior versions on other console, except Supercharged. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'd say the Wii. The only reason I would ever recommend getting like the Wii U version of any of these games is simply because by virtue of Superchargers over here. Having the exclusive Nintendo characters that you cannot get anywhere else. In fact, Skylanders Imaginators on Wii U is technically the most content complete version of the game, because in addition to having the Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex from the Crash Bandicoot franchise playable in that version, you can also play as either Donkey Kong or Bowser. So that effectively makes that the definitive version by default. But yeah, that pretty much does it for my box copy. I'm actually going to end the video here because this video has gone on for quite a while. I think it's like close to 40 to 50 minutes, or 40 to 40, like somewhere between 40 to 50 minutes. I'm going to have to check later. But yeah, that pretty much does it for my entire like box copies of games that I have here. And I'll definitely be returning with a second and possibly a 3rd part as well with my other loose and digital games. But for now, actually, I almost forgot. I actually have one more game. So, as it turns out, I almost completely forgot about this game again. So, the game in question is I just back up here. Guitar Hero Live for the Nintendo Wii U, released back in 2015 and published by Activision. Yeah, so this mammoth of a box was originally supposed to be the triumphant return of Guitar Hero, and instead ended up being relegated to nothing more than dollar store placeholder. So yeah, this was retailing for over $100, and one of the biggest downfalls was the fact that it not only costed over $100, but also came with a brand new instrument, and which made it and not and you could not use any of your previous instruments at all. So that's what really killed this game. And I heard the game itself, it's not that great. So yeah, yeah, I got this for just $4, and considering it was selling for over 100, this ended up being a massive tax write-off, no doubt, for Activision. And it's a shame too because Rock Band 4, which also came out that same year, um, that did not get a release on the Wii U, but it got supported all the way up until this year with brand new songs. So yeah, Wii U owners got screwed over quite a bit, as we very much could have gotten Rock Band 4 and gotten, um, you know, plenty of support up until the present, or as close to the present as possible. But yeah, all we got is all this giant piece of cardboard, and that's it. Really, really, there's no. I mean, really, the only novelty in having this is the fact that I paid just 4 measly bucks for it, and that's it. I don't know if the other versions. I can't remember if the other versions as were also on sale, but I kind of wish I got them, but also I don't, because just look at this thing. This takes up more space than any of these other games that you see here. So yeah, that's not good. Well, for storage that is. So in terms of, yeah, so in terms of the box, you got one video game, one guitar, and controller batteries. And here's a picture of the guitar itself. And if I spin this box around, I actually did an unboxing on this as well uh, several years ago. This thing was, yeah, one game, two ways to play. I only tried this like at least once or twice. I couldn't get into it. It's just not for me. I don't even know if there's any. Yeah, I don't know even know if there's any other accessories that come with it either. But yeah, it has a bunch of songs on it as well by popular artists. But honestly, you can just look these up on YouTube. Really, you don't need to play this game just to you know listen to these songs. You really don't. But what is noteworthy about this is that they actually use a live audience for the background. So I guess that's interesting, but it's really just a bunch of pre-recorded videos, and that's basically it. Not it's may not be as exciting as having actual um, in-engine character models dancing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Guitar Hero Live, and pretty much it for this video. For real this time. We've been at this for probably 50 to 60 minutes now. I don't know. I'd have to check. But yeah, if you like what you saw and want to see more, possibly a part 2 and part 3, as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Good night, everybody.